We're used to calling Paul Nicholls champion trainer. It's easy to forget, therefore, how big a surprise his most recent title was. With no Corto, no Denman and no Masterminded, Paul Nicholls entered last season as a massive underdog to the long odds-on favourite for the title, Nicky Henderson. I visited Paul Nicholls' yard to see how plans for this season are progressing, but I began by asking him whether winning back his title last term against the odds was one of his greatest achievements yet.
It probably was. To lose something and get it back was really good. We honestly thought we had no chance. Obviously, Nicky was a bit unlucky because his star players didn't run. But, we only ended up having one Cheltenham winner, as it turned out, which also shows you can do it without having too much focus on Cheltenham. There is lots of good races either side of Cheltenham and all round. Consistently good all over the year. I think we won about $2.5 million prize money without France and Ireland. It was a good year with the horses we had. We'd obviously Big Bucks had finished and some of the others, so it was good. We enjoyed it, but I'd never thought it would happen, and it just ended up coming our way again. This year's going to be a totally different year, I think, probably more so than ever. I think we've had a lot of changes, a lot of horses that we've sold gone or doing something else, and lots of youngsters. And we're not in a hurry, as you've seen this year. We haven't been, and you have to rebuild for the future. But it's very competitive. Nicky's got a great team of horses again if they stay sound, which, he deserves to have a change of luck from last year. John Joe's obviously been going very, very well, but it's gone a bit quieter lately. He's done really, really well in the summer. And I mean, if you're going to win a Trainers' Championship, it does help having a huge number of runners and winners during the summer. People don't believe you when they say it's great to win the championship. We're all competitive. There's only be one champion, and if you're not champion, it doesn't mean you failed. We like going to France. We won good races with Zarkandi there. We like going to Ireland. Lots of other options that we're looking at and exploring, and building for the future more than anything, as you've seen with the Gallop.
That restless desire to rebuild and regroup continues. Always on the lookout for new and better ways of doing things, as we found when Nicholls showed us his brand new circular gallop.
Just an added dimension to what you do in training. On this week, we can school on it, which is a great thing with the weather being so indifferent nowadays. The grass has been so firm up until this week, so we can do lots of schooling on this, and we can put 4 obstacles on each side, whether chase fences or hurdles, and they can score. But also it's a great cantering loop. They call it gallop, but you never gallop on it. It's a cantering loop. So you can come down on here on a work morning, and they could do 6 laps each way, with a trot in between, come back and then work afterwards. Or some of the bigger Sound Investment's a great example of a horse who was always just struggling to get the weight off him, and he ran at Newton Abbot, ran okay, and since then Gallop was finished. He used to come down here every other day and do what we call a 20-minute canter, 10 minutes each way, and he'd get plenty, and it made a huge difference to him on Saturday. And another one was Vibrator Veltat. It's just an added dimension to some of those bigger horses. You can do different other than just going up the hill or doing fast work on this bottom gallop. It's just ever more competitive game. Everybody sort of follows everybody now, whether it's feeding or training, and everybody gets horses an awful lot fitter. More so, when I started training 20 years ago, I thought then there was only 5 or 6 trainers that got the horses really, really fit, because there's a lot of people still in the old generation, but everyone's caught up now. All these young lads now that have been with me, with Nicky and all that, have all caught up, and Dave Pipe's got a great setup. There's loads of people so it's a very competitive, and everyone's sort of doing the same thing now. So you just need things that help improve you a little bit, and it's just something I've always wanted to do. We've got it there, and it's a help.
If the right horses, the right facilities and the right techniques are important, so too is using the right riders. Nick Schofield and Sam Twiston-Davis are the young British talents that Nicholls has turned to. First choice rider Twiston-Davis, son of Gold Cup and Grand National winning trainer Nigel, may have been born to the sport, but is he ready for the pressure of this new challenge?
It's different to what I've had before, as I know every horse inside out at Nigel's. So I can confidently go out there, and obviously here you're relying on the word of the staff here, and knowing obviously Paul knows his horses very, very well, so I'm relying on him and to tell me what each individual one is like, and that's what's great, is that with the connection between me and him and obviously agent Chris Broad, you're well able to there's pressure there, but at the same time you're just going out and enjoying it because you're riding some of the best horses in the country. I get to ride for champion trainer on a daily basis, and for me this is definitely one of the best jobs in the country. You ride for a man that's hungrier than ever, wants to train more big winners and better winners, and is always looking to invest in the next best thing, i.e. looking from horses from France to Ireland to even Germany with a few this year. And for me, that's amazing to see that someone is that hungry to be champion trainer again, and obviously and have the big winners. It's definitely the right yard to be riding for.
There's no big money retainer for Sam though, not least because he's keeping open the option to ride the apple of his and his dad's eye, the new one.
It's a little bit different because it sometimes scuppers a few plans, but at the same time the new one is an exceptional horse, and he's probably the reason that I'm riding for here, because he got me up onto the big stage, and he's kind of projected me to heights that when I was a kid I could never imagine. So for me, he's the reason I'm here, and my loyalty will always lie with him, and that's what the nice thing, that the new one's done wonders for me, and all I can do is thank him and my dad really, and I guess they're the reason I'm here today and loving life.
In years gone by, riding for a champion trainer was the best way to become champion jockey. Has that thought crossed Sam's mind, I wondered?
AP is unbeatable. He's the best, and we'll always look up to him. Carlo Ellen has always been my kind of mentor, but now obviously bigger jobs and things like that, and you just look up to AP. He's the most, and obviously Dickie Johnson as well. Can't take away from what he's achieved. And between those two lads, I'll always look up to them, and could only ever one day dream of doing what they've done. So I keep my feet as firm on the floor as I can, and just hope maybe one day we can give it a go. But it would be Dickie's shoes are massive to fill, and AP's are even bigger,
He's a very nice young man. He comes down to school and everybody likes him, and it's just like building for the future really. And it's not, quite a lot of pressure. It's a big job, and I've always said to him, don't worry about what's happening in the summer. It's from November onwards it counts, and he's going well, and he'll do very, very well. As will Nick. Nick is like, in effect number 2. Nick's the same age as her mates. Nick rides extremely well. He gave Irish Saint a fantastic ride on Saturday, first run over fences, and I think it's quite exciting with 2 young lads like that, Sam and Nick. And as I said earlier, it's an investment for the future. It's a tough job. There's lots of people always criticising and got opinions. And at the end of the day, it's really what the owners think and what we all think as a team, really. And it is very much a team. And sometimes tough decisions have to be made, but you try and do things that are right for everybody, really. And again, really, as much of anything, everything we've started from this season with the jockeys and the horses and the gallops, it's all about, again, really looking to the future.
A big part of the stable jockey's job is schooling, and our visit coincided with the wraps coming off Paul Nicholls' grass schooling ground, usable for the first time after a long dry spell.
We haven't been able to get out here and do too much out on the grass. We've mostly been schooled on the sand or in the school, and it's good to get them out here doing this, sharpens them up completely. And you just want them learn to sharpen up a little bit. And of course, big heavy horses, you don't want to run. You want to make sure the ground's right before you do school them. That's the big thing. Now it's just about got that right, and we'll give this some plenty of stick now. I mean, we'd school them once a week, but a lot of it in the school on the sand, so they're jumping different obstacles all the time. But just like this, depends how good they are. The older horses, know what they're doing. You don't have to do so much with them, really. But it's just teaching all these novices. Like the last 2 here have not schooled on grass at all. They're both babies, Anna Lulu and Arpege Jolyn. They haven't done a lot on grass at all. But they know how to jump. It's just getting them used to this situation like this. Just sharpen. The same with Emerging Talent and Port Mellon here. There we are, it's better. He's just a bit green jumping. He's looking at her. Those last 2 are really good, actually.
With the Newbury Hennessy meeting around the corner, I asked Nicholls about a horse who promises to be a star recruit to the novice chasing ranks, Saphir de Reux.
He did nothing wrong last year, but he's got to improve again, hasn't he? He's just got to get his act together. And all the novice chases we've run this year have done really well. He's a good hurdler. He's rated 165. I think that flatters him somewhat because Whisper went on and did what he did. But he's always also going to make a nice chaser. But it's all about they go and jump well and do it well. They're progressive. They don't jump. So it's all about jumping when they go chasing. Some horses will say I have a mark of 150. Is it just using that might end up 170 chase because they jump well, but if they don't jump well, it could end up 130 chases. So that's why the 2 disciplines are so different. But as long as they jump well, we do plenty of practice, they should be okay.
A repeat bid for the Hennessy itself has long been a target for last year's runner-up, Rocky Creek.
Very pleased with him. It took a lot to get fit, but he will improve a lot for that run. And the Hennessy is a great race for him. I think he ran well in it last year. Obviously, you wouldn't mind £10 less, but saying that, he was second in a Grade 1 last time. He didn't go up in the weight, so hopefully a big run.
You say he'll come on for it, but I would have thought he might have had a fitness edge on some of those horses in Ireland going into that race.
Well, look, he had a breathing operation in July, so he missed a little bit of time then. And I've just kept saying to Clifford all the time before Ireland, he's too fat. Every night I said he's too fat, and no matter what we did with him, we couldn't get the weight off in the time. So that run will have brought him on without a shadow of doubt. Probably some of the others were in the same boat, and the winner was very race fit. He'd won the Galway Plate, and he was fit, and it helped him. But I do think that we can improve his fitness anyway. I need to, mind, because it's going to be a hell of a competitive Hennessy this year.
I think the owner said after Aintree, didn't he, that he fancied to go at the Hennessy this year?
Yeah, he did. We did last year. I think he's a better horse this year. Last year wasn't easy to train. We had a few little problems, and every time the Henson never really had him right. But I think there's a nice race in him, without a shadow of doubt.
Before I left Ditcheat, I asked Paul Nicholls if another trainer's title was in his sights for the coming campaign.
I've been very lucky, won 8 trainers' championships, but there's more to it than just being champion trainer. I really enjoy what we're doing now, having this new facility. The whole thing's an investment for the future with Sam and Nick and Sean Bowen and the horses and the gallop. We're all looking to the future, and if we can win championships in the future, great. But I'd be rather winning big races and not necessarily not having quite the pressure, enjoying it a little bit more, and bringing like the pleasure I get from winning with those novice chases recently, Vibrator Volta, Irish Saint, Southfield Theatre, and the ones we come. You get so much pleasure from that, and look forward. It's all about looking to the future.
Paul Nicholls may talk of taking time to enjoy his big race successes a little more, but it would be a mistake to imagine him taking his foot off the gas. This is a man who started training with 6 horses and an overdraft, and went from that to rewriting the rule books on winning the sport's greatest races. It may not be clear what his destination is this season, but one thing is certain: he's not standing still.